Okay, so something that I have really been wanting to talk about here is something that happened in the EU ALGS Winter Circuit #1 that I think a lot of people are talking about. If you have any inclusion in the Apex Legends community, if you keep up with the pro scene whatsoever, if you watch ALGS, any of the following, then you absolutely have heard about Shiv FPS and his legendary run all the way through semifinals using a Bangalore in his comp. Now, right now, I need to break this down. I need to help all of you people who are so confused as to how it worked so easily. Yes, he is a Bangalore god, but how did he make it work against the best players in his region? Let's get right into it. So, before I get into this video, this is Shiv's on his YouTube channel, which I will absolutely link in the description below. But if you're watching my content and you're not watching his content, I don't know what you're doing. Stop wasting your time. Click off of this, watch his first, then come back here, maybe show the video some love. But just to give you guys some background, he made it through the group stage. He made it through quarters. He made it through semifinals. He actually took first place, him and his team with DiffQ and Zippeth, took first place in their group within a very, very impressive 43 kills and 70 points. A ridiculously awesome run. You know, the top teams in the world that scrim every day, go over strategies in their off time. Some of them even have coaches. Some of those teams couldn't even compete with Shiv, DiffQ, and Zippeth. Now, all three players had an outstanding performance and their comms sounded fantastic. But the number one thing that I want to highlight is how Shiv used his Bangalore play, specifically his smokes and a little bit of his barrage, to do three things that was extremely, extremely impressive, and I loved every bit of it. To kite back from enemy teams so that he can reassess the fight, reset when he needs to heal, res, etc., and most importantly, the way that he isolates his team fights with smoke grenades so he doesn't have to worry about snipers, he doesn't have to worry about third parties, is absolutely incredible. And I think a lot of you guys can take this play into your ranked games, even into your scrims, anything you want to do. This Bangalore play is just absolute 1000 IQ, and I want to show you guys exactly what he's doing and why he's doing it. So let's get right into his YouTube video and let's start breaking it down. So right here, as you can see, they have the caustic barrels that are going off inside the trailer. They have teams that are kind of holding a pigeon toe type positioning against them. They have one high ground in the back and two on the left and right. So Shiv opens with a huge barrage right down the middle lane to split the team into three, forcing them to converge together to go either for res or to get a reset, which he obviously takes very good capitalization of, runs in, cleans the team, and then right there, the perfect smoke grenade to cover his flank. Now, some people might think, why didn't he smoke the cliff face? Why didn't he smoke any other angle? What is so important about that specific angle? Now, if you look at the zone, you can see in the top left of your screen right now, the mini map right there is showing that so much of epicenter is in the zone right now. The only position that they should be worried about getting third-partied from is epicenter. Epicenter is the focus of third parties in this specific position because there's free reign to run up the hill and take the fight from the rear. Shiv, instantly acknowledging this without even having to hesitate or take a second to think about it, puts a smoke grenade on their backs so that if a team decides to push in, they will have the jump on the team pushing in as opposed to the other way around like third parties usually go. Just one amazing way that Shiv uses his Bangalore smokes to allow his team to reset effectively without having to worry about flanks or third parties. All right, coming up here in a second, you're going to see an absolutely fantastic way. So the first smoke was mostly just to block off the enemy teams from being able to get easy shots on them. That was a really, really strong smoke, but I think the big highlight here is more Zippeth and the way that he used his dome to cover his teammate. They were calling for it a little sooner, and maybe he should have gotten it out a few seconds earlier, but hindsight's 20/20. At the end of the day, he did use his dome to execute a res. Now, what did he combo that with? That's the important part. Zippeth threw his barrage in front of the dome, splitting the difference between his team and the enemy team that wanted to push in. Clearly, they threw the horizon ult, so they were looking to commit. Zippeth acknowledged that, and even through all the comms that they were saying, stick it, stick it, stick it, he knew what he had to do, which was drop that barrage to cut off the other teams from making the advance while they were trying to res. Super, super smart. You're about to see a really important play that Shiv makes. It seems almost inconsequential, but once you actually realize what's going on in this fight, you're going to realize how important it was that he did the play he's about to do. So he sees the charge rifle shots and instantaneously drops a smoke. Now, what exactly was that smoke doing? Okay, you could say, well, obviously it was blocking sight lines for the charge rifles that were inside fragment. Yes, but that's not all it was doing. What Shiv was, at the end of the day, Shiv's main objective with that smoke was to isolate his team and the enemy team that were fighting. This is the number one way Bangalore players can really take advantage of her utility. You isolate the team fight so that you don't have to worry as much about third parties or getting knocked from 500 meters away or whatever it is. Isolating your team fights is super, super powerful, especially at this high level of play. You hear teams all the time talking about, can we take an ISO here? I think we can get an ISO fight coming up. That just essentially means that an isolated fight that they don't have to worry about other teams getting involved. Now, what this does is there might be other teams within range to take a third party or to do poke damage or get involved on the fight. But what his smokes do is it isolates him and the enemy team, giving them a clean 3-on-3 that players like Shiv, Zippeth, and DivQ are absolutely confident in. That is where they excel. They excel in the 3v3 team fight, straight up, no BS, just getting in their face, applying pressure, and getting kills. That's where Shiv and his team pops off. That's how they play the best, and they took advantage of that to the fullest, and that's exactly how they dropped the 43 kills in one round in the semifinals. Absolutely insane. Again, you're going to see here in just a second while he's healing. They're not planning on pushing the building, but him smoking off that window gives his team a little bit more room to do what they want. They can figure out what they need to do. They can reset really quick. And now while they're making this cross, since they're considering taking the zip, they can walk across a little bit easier knowing that that one team in the window is not going to have free shots on them. They end up getting taking fire from a lot of different teams, but at the end of the day, that was a really, really big smoke play. Here again, dropping the smoke around his teammate, which specifically was a Wraith. Why was this so effective? It gave the Wraith just enough time to get that cast time off. Now, Wraith's Wraith to Wraith form ability is extremely slow now with the new patch that happened maybe 2 seasons ago. So I don't want to say new, but with Wraith's current cast time, she needs a good, I want to say it's like a second to get her actually into Wraith form. And in that time, she's extremely vulnerable. So Shiv, again, quickly acknowledged the situation and gave his teammate enough time to kite back, smoking him off, applying a little bit of pressure, running his gun, and it gave DivQ just enough time to get into Wraith form and back off the fight. I'm not sure if the whole fight ended up being successful. I can't remember off the top of my head. But at the end of the day, this specific instance play was huge and was only available to him because he was playing Bangalore. Okay, so right there, you see him throw another smoke, cutting off a choke angle. All that's doing is discouraging enemy teams from pushing in. Now, coming up here in just a second, boom. So he gets the information that there are 2 teams fighting on the left side of that tunnel that you see in the center of your screen right now. He knows that that team, one of those 2 teams, is going to disengage, and when they disengage, they're either going to cut tunnel or they're going to run up the hill towards the beacon building that's just around that corner. Both of those things would be very bad because it would put Shiv and his team on the back foot, seeing as how close to edge of zone they are. So with that information, and you hear his teammates call it out as well, so everyone's pretty much on the same page here. He's going to throw his barrage to cut off the right angle, forcing both teams into a corner, which DivQ and Zippeth and Shiv simultaneously can collapse on them and maximize their kill potential. This is so huge because it takes away the option of escape from the enemy 2 teams. They have to force the fight between each other and then immediately fend off a third party. Not a good look for any team, but an extremely smart play from Shiv and the boys. Right there, you can see this enemy team is scrambling for cover, trying to find somewhere to hide, something to do with Shiv aggressing on them since they got cut off. Now they're forced into this little choke. Zippeth throws ult to cut off the angle, and now they can force this team into a negative position and play the advantage. Once again, you see the smoke grenade up on the choke, discouraging the third parties and isolating the fight to a 3v3 as opposed to having to worry about the million different ways that teams can third party in the current meta. Again, fight isolation. Now he's cutting off that entire backside zone angle that they approached from. So he's even taking into account the disadvantage that he was forcing on the other team. So smart. Whether or not they committed, that play was huge. All of that was extremely, extremely smart. And he fries. He's a fry god, so, you know, big brain plus fry god, it's cash. So you hear there, he said smoking forward. Now, what a lot of players would normally hear in that situation is doming forward, which I do believe Zippa domes here in just a second. You dome forward so that you have advanced cover to take the fight in the enemy's face. That's generally when you're running a Mastiff, Eva 8, PK, R9, Volt, things like that. Things that you want to take close range engagements in. So you dome forward so you can play inside your dome and dome jiggle so that you can take those pot shots, force the team to come closer, or use it as a leapfrog to position yourself closer to the enemy team. Now what he did there is he smoke grenaded them forward. That way they could run up with no sightlines from the enemy team, assuming that they don't have a digital threat or Bloodhound ult, or Bloodhound in general for scans. So he smoked forward and then continued to apply pressure to the team off to his left, knowing that there were teams off to his right as well. Cutting off that sight line is going to, once again, I'm going to keep saying it, discourage third parties and isolate the team fight. If you can continue to isolate your fights to 3v3s in every single professional atmosphere you're playing in, you are going to find so much success, as you can clearly see he very much did. Again, look at how he extends the cover they're playing with that smoke grenade. So they have this rock to play, but that's not the biggest rock in the world. That's not enough cover for a full team. But the way he smokes off the angle, he creates such a large position for them to play that they don't have to worry about these opposite angles that teams that don't have a Bangalore have to worry about. Isolating fights. This one doesn't work out for them, but he's isolating fights. Even though he ended up isolating the fight and it worked in the enemy team's favor, that's still exactly how a team like Shiv's team wants to play. They want to get in your face. They want to apply pressure. They don't want to worry about third parties. They want to focus on you. They want to apply all the pressure to you all at once. They want to swarm you. And that's exactly what they just did. It just didn't work out. It's not always going to work. You're not going to win 100% of your fights. But they are playing these fights exactly the way you need to. Now, as a coach, all I'm here to do for the teams that I coach is give them the best chance at winning every engagement they get. How do we maximize the efficiency of every fight? That doesn't mean I can make you win every single fight, but I can maximize your efficiency per fight so that you have the best chance to win each fight. So, I mean, I would say that was an absolutely boss-ass maximization of efficiency. So I think we're going to call it there. I think that's enough of an example. Anything else you guys want to know about how to play Bangalore, or how Shiv made so much success out of a character that nobody thought would ever make it into the competitive meta, absolutely let me know in the comments, and I'd be more than happy to go more in depth with this. I had a lot of fun making this. I love watching Shiv's content. Again, none of the gameplay footage in this video was my own. It all belonged to Shiv. I'll have his video linked in the description below. But again, if you're not already subscribed to Shiv and you're watching this channel right now, I don't know what you've been doing your whole life, but go please sub to him. Watch his videos. They are so great. You can learn so much just from watching how he plays. He's an absolute god, especially a Bangalore god. So I really hope this helped you guys out a lot. Now, this is not to say that Shiv carried his team super hard in any way. I think they all played fantastic, and that is where the success came from. But having that out-of-the-box Bangalore play definitely gave them a pretty big advantage on some of these other teams that are so used to certain metas. So yeah, this has been your friendly neighborhood Apex Legends coach, Ninja Cowboy. Please drop a like, comment, and subscribe if you want to see more. And peace.